Welcome to GHS FBI's Veterans Day production. In 1921, an American soldier, his name known but to God, was buried on a Virginia hillside overlooking the Potomac River and the city of Washington, D.C. The burial site of this unknown World War I soldier in Arlington National Cemetery symbolized dignity and reverence for America's veterans.
Similar ceremonies occurred earlier in England and France, where an unknown soldier of the Great War was buried in each nation's highest place of honor. In England, Westminster Abbey; in France, the Arc de Triomphe.
These memorial gestures all took place on November 11th, giving universal recognition to the celebrated ending of World War I hostilities. At 11 a.m., November 11th, 1918, the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, the day became known as Armistice Day.
Armistice Day officially received its name in America in 1926 through a congressional resolution. It became a national holiday 12 years later by similar congressional action. If World War I had indeed been the war to end all wars, November 11th might still be called Armistice Day. But in 1939, World War II broke out in Europe and shattered that dream. Of the 16 million Americans who served in the armed forces during World War II, more than 400,000 died.
I will now read a poem called They Did Their Share. On Veterans Day, we honor soldiers who protect our nation. For their service as our warriors, they deserve our admiration. Some of them were drafted, some were volunteers. For some, it was just yesterday. For some, it's been many years. In the jungle or the desert, on land or on the sea, they did whatever was assigned to produce a victory. Some came back, some didn't. They defended us everywhere. Some saw combat, some rode a desk. All of them did their share. No matter what the duty, for low pay and little glory, these soldiers gave up normal lives for duties mundane and gory. Let every veteran be honored. Don't let politics get in the way. Without them, freedom would have died. What they did, we can't repay. We owe so much to them who kept us safe from terror. So when we see a uniform, let's say thank you to every wearer. And that was by Joanna Fuchs.
Raymond Weeks of Birmingham, Alabama, organized a Veterans Day parade for that city on November 11, 1947, to honor all of America's veterans for their loyal service. Later, U.S. Representative Edward H. Rees of Kansas proposed legislation changing the name of Armistice Day to Veterans Day to honor all of those who have served America in all wars.
In 1954, President Eisenhower signed a bill proclaiming November 11th as Veterans Day and called upon Americans everywhere to rededicate themselves to the cause of peace. He issued a presidential order directing the head of the Veterans Administration, now the Department of Veterans Affairs, to form a Veterans Day National Committee to organize and oversee the national observance of Veterans Day. In addition to fulfilling that mission, the committee oversees the annual production and distribution of the Veterans Day poster and this Veterans Day teacher resource guide.
In 1968, Congress moved Veterans Day to the fourth Monday in October. However, it became apparent that the November 11th date was historically significant to a great many Americans. As a result, Congress formally returned the observance of Veterans Day to its traditional date in 1978.
Currently, there are over 1 million people serving in the United States military and are deployed around the world, fighting for our continued freedom. Although Veterans Day is primarily seen as a day of celebration and as somber remembrance, it is still appropriate to include a moment of respect for those who gave their lives for their country. As the signing of the World War I armistice took place, the bugle sounded "Cease firing," also known as taps, and the hostilities ended. We will now have a rendition of taps played by Junior Lucas Eckridge.
Colin Powell said at the 50th anniversary of the bombing of Pearl Harbor, "We must not forget the past. We must not forget those who sacrificed. But we must also remember the reason for their sacrifice. They died so tyranny would die. They died to create a better world for those of us who followed them. Their sacrifice was not in vain." This concludes our Veterans Day program. Thank you for watching.